Well, we had a little bit of swinging around I think at least one round around, maybe just one, since the last, and had one big event, which is an open ballot here, fired off by the southern side to hit this guy's Pennsylvania. It ended up going, I don't remember for how much, a decent amount. Everybody knew how much it was worth. 2 million something, I don't know, probably 2,750. And then Florida went actually for above face value in a sealed bid, which is one of the vagaries of me dicing off to see how people are. Obviously, once you hit the value of it, there wasn't going to be anything higher. I don't know why the decision was made by this guy to go for Florida. And it's kind of unrealistic given the flavor of the play so far. But at certain times, the game does kind of change and the perception becomes... Because at the end of the game, at the very least, these are all that matter. It doesn't matter how many votes you have hidden in your pile. But early on, paying above par value, as it were, by a significant amount is a problem. And if this guy... It has you kind of buffaloed, it could be, you know, a 6-point Arkansas coming out. Well, not in this case, but, well, everything's pretty decent. Mississippi's gone. So, yeah, it was going to be a reasonable sized state no matter what. Just one of the things about the South, it doesn't have any really lame states. All right, well, anyway, onward. All right, after a couple more quick go-arounds, this guy was collecting a lot of money, people landing on him. He pulled a $5 million card from someone. That was good because open ballot was triggered against him. And Florida was put back up and he had to pay another $2 million to hold on to it. And, you know, just that continual flow of money, those big target states, they're just really have a big bullseye when it comes down to... taking care of those open ballots. And, you know, anybody else is going to pick his, so I guess it's not that terrible. Anyway, on. Well, a couple more, one more time around, and a couple people got fly anywhere, secret ballots, bang. They end up getting, oh man, you got to be careful with those. You can play a stop to stop them from going over your home state. I don't think anybody was in that situation, but that's a potent thing to prevent someone from running by your home state. You grab a card from them and they don't get their bonus. You may want to hold it until there's an obvious winner. Well, now there's someone doing very well. Two people paid $5 million. Yellow paid to blue and grabbed a decent set. Got Ohio and Massachusetts. That's pretty good for... It was over $5 million. It was actually 5.5 because that guy over there boosted him up. But then this guy went for 5 on Yellow's turn, and Red didn't want to give Yellow more money, so he just passed on that, didn't bid it up. So for $5 million, Blue ended up getting New York, Wisconsin, and some smaller stuff. Alabama, which isn't bad either. Anyway, some decent votes there overall, no question. Of course, he's got the big target now that everybody's going to try to take away from him and strip his money. And since Blue had that target on his back, he decided to play this card, which allows him to steal a vote card from everybody. They just went into the deck and got reshuffled. But that reduces the cash that people can spend on trying to outbid him. Now, in some ways, that's kind of a shame because it means he won't get that cash, but it's nice to have that big state. That's a lot of votes. So if he can win it for, you know, under the 4 million when it gets brought up to the bid, it's probably a good deal. Now, one interesting situation comes up when the last card, as just happened with the white, is drawn from a deck. Everybody knows what state it is. It's really just a matter of, you know, looking at them all and aligning them. So it's easier if you flip it face up and show. That alignment and knowing where everything is and what's out, maybe it's part of the game, maybe it's not. But on this final one, it certainly shouldn't be. It's not worth wasting the time for everybody to try to figure it out. Anyway, this went for slightly more than its vote value. we're not late enough in the game that I think things are definitely worth paying more for. And unless somebody's sitting on a big card, it's not really worth it. That's a 12. It might have been worth spending $2 million on, but nobody wanted to at this point. So now as we're heading into the later part of the game, Blue has landed on a state that no longer is available. And I forgot to mention this during the rules. Didn't really bother to read it, but I had to now. He gets to pick a state of his, a region of his choice. Now, West has the biggest payoff swing. Midwest is most likely, at this point, to have a bonus state, though. So I'm going to kind of do it even, odd even there. He's going to go with the Midwest. He pulled a weak little one, so nah, he'll bid accordingly. So he got a pretty good deal. I think it was like $1,250,000 for South Dakota there. And now we come to another player doing the same thing. Had a bigger pile of money, decided to go with a Western pick, got a tiny stake, put a $500,000 up. Now one player has bid the $1 million. That's what he had. Basically no one else has to jump in at this time. Somebody's put the votes in that he has to commit one way or another. In a two-player game, you're sitting there always knowing you have no idea whether or not you've got crap there. But in a more than two-player game, just one person has to challenge him to take away some of the advantage of the hidden pick. On the other hand, you can still bluff, and he could try to pump that up and see what that does. He chooses not to. He's going to take the $1 million. You know, it would kind of suck to pay a lot for a crappy stake. White just landed on an open ballot, and he's picking New York. And the blue player says no. That's not going to happen. I'm just going to stop that from happening. And that's the power of the stop actions. In general, you use it to protect your big states. Certainly in two players, that's always the case. You just don't want those open ballots coming up because they cost you so much to retain your state, or the other player can take them from you. And yes, you get the cash, but it's not usually a good deal. Well, Blue didn't have an extra card to stop it. Red landed on a fly anywhere, flew by his home state, getting an extra vote, all the way over to here and through New York up. As long as he can keep it changing hands. Maybe he can get a hold of it. Maybe it's not worth it. Here's the problem. New York's the big buddy out there right now, right? So holding it is that target. So maybe it's not worth $4 million because you'll have to keep paying on it at this point in the game still. And yellow had the big $5 million card in his hand. He turned it in to blue for that. Nobody was willing to go higher than that for something that does have that big target here. And it's probably going to shift hands some more. It's just that $5 million card is also dangerous because you could lose it to a politics card at any time. So, yeah, it's not really worth $5 million in a sense. The bigger valued cards are worth less than their face value in some ways. Which is to say, you want to get rid of them and pay with them. Well, $2 million, it's easy to use. $5 million, it's tough, and this is one of the few things that's really worth buckling down on, as is a set of 5 states. That's usually the things that you want to spend that kind of capital on. All right, well, this time around, Blue landed on the open ballot, hit New York. It went. The owner managed to keep it for, I think, 5.5 or 5.250, whatever. Thrown back into the deck. But now, with all those votes in the deck, when he got a fly anywhere, he flew back to his home state and grabbed 2 vote cards. The deck had been getting kind of small, and with that $5 million in there, he thought he had a good shot at it. Well, it didn't happen, but... and then New Mexico fell. Okay, a couple of other little things happened. The decks are getting kind of small, but the East is still pretty thick, it looks like there. Use of political cards is getting... is enhancing. White played a get another turn. They had this desire to push past their home state, get some more cash in their hand. They also have a card which they wanted to use once they passed it. Debate an opponent. You move his token to your home state and yourself. You get a vote card from him and then 2 from the board. That's kind of a nice way to replenish your cash. or votes, or whatever you want to call it. Blue played a fly anywhere to whip around and hit the open ballot again. He's got kind of this advantage because he goes past his home state, gets an extra cash. He was right here. He gets to go back around completely and hit New York again if you want it. Well, it was obvious what was happening, so the South player stopped him on his home state and took a card from him for cash. Yellow also landed on fly anywhere, whipped around to the secret ballot, putting 3 states up. He's getting a $5 million windfall off blue there. Again, that, hey, you kind of want to play your $5 million card. It's 35, 38 votes. That's pretty close to what New York brings. And New York was running above the $5 million recently. So it's not a bad deal, actually. Nobody else wanted to match that kind of money. Not on 3 states. One of which, more than one, are likely to be pretty small. The red states, there aren't many left. The biggies are all gone except New Jersey. Alright, well, red took a turn and they feel like they're running kind of low. So they're playing this gamble card. This allows them to stake a state against an equal or lesser valued state. Now, they could do this against Illinois, but they feel like this is the guy they're worried about. So they're staking against Ohio. Each case, you and your opponent rolls a die. The higher scorer wins both states. Well, unfortunately, this is not covered in the game. If there's no higher roller, I'm saying it ends up a wash. Anyway, for the red player, he got a big 2. That's a good plus on his side. And for yellow, he got a 1. So he loses that big state, and he didn't have anything he could cancel it with. Well, the price for holding New York for him is going up and up. He's been hit twice with it. $5 million this last time, the time before $4 million, all going into that vote pile. And, you know, he's not necessarily in the lead, but this is the thing that can swing it for someone else. So it's so rich to put that up and try to drain his money so he's in worse shape with each blow. Actually, he may be doing pretty well because if you look, this guy may be in the lead, but it's got to be fairly close with Florida and New York. I don't want to count point total value. This is a game that's best played kind of fast and furious. White played that debate event and drained his money as well. So there's kind of this, hey, let's try to knock him loose and see what we can do to him. We'll see how this turns out. Lots and lots of politics cards coming out. Well, this time around, yellow got a bonus. He picked up Michigan. Got it for only $1.5 million. And that's pretty cheap. The problem is, it's the only thing that was there that was high, and the rest were kind of iffy at best. There's a 12 sitting around, you know, maybe a 13 for Indiana, yeah. So it was reaching the rich point, but that puts him probably in the lead here. And I'm going to load this one up because it's going to be a little bit longer. There's at least a couple of cards in each of these decks. I think 3 or 4 in the Midwest, actually. That's a thicker deck than it looks. All right, up it goes.